You know, I've always wondered what this would be like, just a little bit bigger. Let's try this out. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Holy hell! I think I could get into this. Let's get to work. Hey guys, Andrew here. Welcome back to Work the Trigger. On today's installment of Small Things That Are Now Big, we're going to be covering Springfield's Hellcat versus Springfield's Hellcat Pro. That's right, Springfield Armory, not that Springfield, has decided to bump up the size of their Hellcat to the Hellcat Pro to take on the Goliaths in the compact market with a 15-round magazine. That's right, what was a Micro 9 is now basically a very thin compact gun, and I kinda like it. Speaking of taking on the Goliaths in the compact world, if you'd like to help me take on the Goliaths in the YouTube firearms industry, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button down below. If at any point in this video you see something that you disagree with or agree with, go ahead and write that down in the comments, and if at the end you like this, do me a huge favor and hit that like button. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into what we really have here. Now, getting that out of the way, I want to cover something really quick. This review today is based purely on the guns themselves. This has nothing to do with the company that makes them. Now, some of you can't separate those two things, and that is fine. If you do not want to purchase a firearm because of the parent company that made it, I am never going to hold that against you, because in the case of Springfield especially, they're kind of douchebags. Some years ago, Springfield actually was trying to make deals with legislators to be able to pass anti-firearms legislations in the state of Illinois, where they are centered, that not only crossed the line that most of us would agree no gun company should ever cross, but actually would have hurt some of its competition, therefore bumping up its own business and giving itself some political leeway, essentially screwing the citizens of Illinois and other companies trying to sell firearms Illinois over to get a one-up for themselves and to save themselves a little bit, which is super shady as hell, especially in an industry like the firearms industry that is constantly under attack and that we need to be unified together to defend. But as shitty as some of the past decisions that Springfield has made, this review is specifically about guns. It is not about the company. So let's talk a little bit about these guns. When the SIG P365 came out, it was a little bit revolutionary. It came blasting into a market where your average magazine capacity was about 6 rounds. The SIG came in with a minimum capacity of 10 rounds, which is obviously an increase of 4. Yay maths. But it really drew a lot of people into that market, because up until that point, the only thing that you could get in that size range was a subcompact, which didn't give you a whole lot of benefit over a compact, but you lost rounds. Now with the Micro 9s, you ended up gaining a lot of concealability. After SIG came out, they had that success. Springfield came out with the Hellcat. The Hellcat increased the magazine capacity up to 11 from the SIG, and with the extended mag here that each one of them came with, you could actually get 13 rounds in, with a very similar shooting profile to the P365, but what I consider a slightly better trigger on paper. The Hellcat has really held its own. Now Springfield's other product lines, the XDs, the XDMs, XDSs, they had all been failing for quite a while. They had had a lot of reports about quality issues, falling apart, and just reliability issues altogether. So with the success of the Hellcat, I had actually from the beginning thought that maybe they should take a move. Maybe they should go to a Hellcat for all, per se, which is exactly what they did. This is the Hellcat Pro. Now the Hellcat Pro gives us a 15-round magazine with that longer grip, giving you a full grip on the gun. Slightly longer barrel and a standard 1913 Picatinny rail are the other major upgrades of the Pro. Let's go over some of the sizes really quick. The original Hellcat coming in for about $650 to $670 with the OSP, that is the optics ready version. This one is not. This is the base model for about 50 bucks less than that. With a length of 6 inches, a height of 4 inches without an extended pinky base pad or the additional base pad that we saw before, and a width of 1 inch, it rivaled the P365 in pretty much every way. Rounding us out, we had a 3-inch barrel and about a 19-ounce weight on this thing, which made it per size a relatively controllable gun. Up on top, we've got Springfield's high-vis sights. They're actually pretty good just for stock iron sights, blow things like Glock pretty much out of the water as far as low light usability and things like that go. Up close acquisition, very quick. Distance acquisition and precision, a little bit more difficult on this one. We've got a non-ambidextrous slide stop slide release, a swappable magazine release, and let's go over the trigger pull profile really quick. Trigger pull is about a 1/4 inch of take up, hard wall into a little bit of creep and a break with a 4-pound, 14.4 ounce 5-pole average, and a reset that is slightly tactile, slightly audible, but not too heavy on that. and right back on the brake. Now in the box with the standard one, you get a flush mag with a Pinksy extension and a flat base pad, as well as the extended 13 round, and actually a really nice carrying case. I do commend Springfield for that. So with all the dimensions out of the way, let's go ahead and find out how the standard Hellcat shoots.
Now we're going to start with the 11 round magazine with the Hellcat here. This is just in its smallest configuration, trying to give you the best idea of what we're going to be looking at shooting just in what you would probably carry this as. The Hellcat here shoots a lot more like what you would think a gun this size would shoot like. It is snappy, it's a little bit of a handful. It's a very small 9mm handgun. It's not uncontrollable, however. It's easily controllable, and the really good trigger on it makes those quick shots really easy. The sights are the same size as the Hellcat Pro, so you're not really losing or gaining anything between the two there. The reduced barrel length and reduced slide mass does make it a snappier gun than the Hellcat Pro. That is to be expected though. You are going to get that trade-off when you're swapping big gun for a little gun, especially in guns in this size variant.
Now on the other side, we've got the Hellcat Pro here. The Hellcat Pro comes in for about $580, with a length of 6.6 inches, making it 0.6 inches longer, a height of 4.8 inches, making it 0.8 inches taller, and a width again of 1 inch, the exact same as the Hellcat. You get a 3.7 inch barrel on the Hellcat Pro, which is 0.7 inches longer and just 2 ounces heavier at 21 ounces. The Hellcat Pro has the same left side slide stop slide release, swappable magazine release, what look to be the exact same sights up there, and 2 of those 15 round magazines. The trigger on the Pro feels like it's got a little bit flatter of a face in this direction, if that makes any sense. Where your finger pad actually hits the trigger face just feels a little bit more comfortable than on the standard Hellcat. Trigger pull profile on the Pro, we've got that same about 1/4 inch take up to a hard wall, a little bit more creep on the Pro actually, and then a hard break. A 5-pound, 4.6 ounce 6-pull average, sorry about that, and that same reset right back on the wall, back to a little bit creepier of a break. As I said, this does come with the 2 15-round magazines and a very similar carrying case to the standard. Now that we've finished up with the Pro, let's go ahead and find out how that one shoots.
So the Hellcat Pro does shoot like a bigger gun than it really is. Doesn't shoot quite as good as a compact gun like a 19 or something like that, but it does shoot well. It's trackable, it's controllable. The trigger in the Hellcat is a really nice trigger. It's somewhat heavy, heavier than some of the self-defense triggers that we've seen, but it is nice and crisp. Tracking on the gun is relatively straight up and down, making it pretty easy to get back on target. And the sights on the Hellcat Pro, especially up close, are really good sights. You get further out, and they don't do quite as much to help you out, but they're still adequate sights.
So now we know how the Hellcat shoots, how the Hellcat Pro shoots. Now let's find out how they shoot together, compared to each other. Let's head back to the range now. We're going to do a heads-up comparison between the two. We're going to fire shots through one and the other, alternating between the two, so that I can really get a feel of how each one of them shoots. This is really the only way that you're going to truly be able to directly compare how a gun shoots, is by shooting one, immediately shooting the other one. Even if you shoot a mag through one, and then back to the other one and a mag through that one, it doesn't give you quite as much information as it does when you shoot these alternating like this. After that, we'll do our comparison drill, which is 5 shots on a 10-yard steel target and 2 shots on a 25-yard steel target, and then we'll meet back here to round everything out.
All right, so we've got the standard Hellcat and the Hellcat Pro here. So I'm going to start with the 11-round mag on the Hellcat here. When we run out of that 11-round mag, I'm actually going to swap over to the 13 and get that elongated grip on there to see if that changes a little bit how the Hellcat shoots versus the Hellcat Pro. It should change it a little bit, but we'll see. Let's go ahead and start this out. We're just going to be alternating between the two. Let's go ahead and start with the standard Hellcat.
It's on 407.
Okay, let's go ahead and swap over to the longer one on the standard Hellcat here. We've got 2 rounds left.
That's because I was like,
Okay, so the shooting profile is what you would expect. The standard Hellcat is significantly snappier than the Pro. The Pro, the longer grip just gives you a lot more controllability over it. Now the Hellcat, when you put the 13 round extended in, it does help tame that down a little bit, just gives you a little bit of a better grip, but it's still not as smooth of a shooting gun as the Hellcat Pro is. That longer slide, the more reciprocating mass gives you a little bit smoother of a recoil impulse, gets you a little bit easier and quicker back down on target. Next, let's go ahead and do our timing string, where we're gonna do 5 rounds on 10-yard steel, 2 rounds on 20-yard steel, and we'll compare those 2 times. First, let's go ahead and start out with the Hellcat Pro. All right, we got a 474 on that. The long shots, at least one of those was me, but these sights just don't agree with me on those long targets. Next up, let's go with the standard Hellcat. Okay, for this string on the standard Hellcat, we are swapping back to the short mag. That's the real size of the gun, so that's what we're gonna use. Now, I'm using the pinky extension. Doesn't do that much to hinder your concealability. Does give you a little bit of an edge on shooting.
yeah, that's...
578 on that one. That's not bueno. Thank you, thank you. So I'm gonna pretend like that didn't happen right there. Anyway, let's get back to the studio. We'll talk about it there.
Okay guys, so now that we know how these two guns shoot, it's not really surprising. The Hellcat Pro does shoot a little bit softer. It is a bigger gun. You get a fuller grip on it. It's got a longer barrel, which is generally going to lead to a little bit better slide reciprocation, a little bit more predictable in the recoil. The standard Hellcat, a little bit snappier. The two have the exact same sights, so you're not looking at any difference there, but the standard Hellcat is going to conceal better. One thing I did want to mention really quick before we get out of here is the standard Hellcat with the extended base pad. That is the difference in length of 2 rounds. It's right around 1/4 inch. Now that's the Hellcat with the 13 round extended, but I know a lot of people who buy these littler guns and they run those longer mags. If you're gonna do that, the Pro is where you wanna go. Now let's talk accessories with these really quick. They're really gonna have a similar aftermarket accessory support eventually, but one thing that Springfield did that really has been driving me crazy, because a lot of different companies have been doing this lately, is they made the Hellcat Pro just a little bigger than the standard Hellcat. Now what that means is that the holsters that have been made for the Hellcat RDP, their compensated standard size Hellcat, which is just a little bit longer than this one actually, will not function with the Pro here. That's right, you can't just go buy one of those holsters. Now, the time that is annoying is when holsters like Harry's Holsters, which does make a holster for the standard version here, use Work the Trigger for 10% off, can't use our holster for this one. All of the other things are very similar on it. The optics plate is the same, the trigger stuff is the same, so you're really not looking at a whole lot of difference there. But that holster compatibility, as someone who designs holsters, drives me insane. Gun companies, would you stop doing that, please? We would love to support you if you would just help us support you. But I digress. So between these two guns, which of these two guns would I prefer? Now this answer is decidedly more certain than the last one that I did. That was the Glock 48 versus the Hellcat Pro. Glock 48 versus the Hellcat Pro, they shot very similar. About the biggest difference between those two is the round count. Well, with these two guns, it is not. The round count is actually less, but the Hellcat Pro shoots enough better than the standard Hellcat that I would pick the Hellcat Pro. The majority of the time I would rather have that longer grip anyway, and the thickness of this thing really is its major selling factor as far as carry goes. So between the two, I would go the Hellcat Pro. That doesn't mean that you can't go with the standard size Hellcat. If you are looking for a deep conceal version, I have enough micro 9s that I don't really need to rely on the standard Hellcat. So for me, if I'm going to carry a micro 9, typically speaking, it's gonna end up being the SIG P365. I just like that gun a little bit better. So if I want something bigger, but not quite as big as like my P10 or something, the Hellcat Pro is a pretty solid option if you can get over the Springfield part. So thank you for watching, guys. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, do me a favor, hit that like button down below. If you like what you see and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. We do have a few ways to be able to support the channel now. We have a YouTube channel membership, which is going to give you access to a couple of giveaways and some extra videos. Over at workthetrigger.com, you can find coupon codes, affiliate codes, and links to our merch. And at WTT3D, you can find our 3D printed gun accessories. Thank you guys, I appreciate every one of you, and until next time, do your research, get informed, and get to work.